very strongly that the Iranians were stonewalling us. They weren't taking this seriously. They were trying to draw this process out as long as possible so that they could rebuild their nuclear weapons program without the threat of American action. We had a limited window in which we could take out this Fordo nuclear facility in particular. The president decided to take it, but we didn't blow up the diplomacy.
In a masterclass of political commentary, Barack Obama shredded JD Vance's entire political persona in less than 10 minutes. Vance, the self-proclaimed smart conservative with a Yale law degree, decided to lecture the left on credentials. Big mistake. Obama, who taught constitutional law, didn't just raise his voice, he dismantled Vance's entire education with surgical precision. At a community college event in Michigan, Obama took aim at the Republican critique of academic excellence, specifically calling out the trend of waving diplomas like participation trophies. Yale Law School is prestigious, absolutely, Obama said. But you know what's more impressive? Actually understanding what they taught you there.
And Donald Trump at a rally just started making up stories about the Biden administration withholding aid from Republican areas and siphoning off aid to give to undocumented immigrants. Just made the stuff up. Everybody knew it wasn't true.
The crowd went wild. Everyone knew exactly who he meant. JD Vance, who had mentioned his Yale degree 17 times in the previous week. Obama didn't stop at Vance's lack of depth. He dug into the contradictions in Vance's public statements about executive power and constitutional law. He used Vance's own positions to show how someone could graduate from a prestigious school and still misunderstand basic constitutional principles. A subtle but lethal critique. He even brought up how legal education teaches nuance, humility, and engagement with complexity, traits Vance clearly lacked. But Obama's true brilliance came when he elevated the discussion beyond credentials. He shared his own journey, emphasizing that real education comes from working with people, understanding the challenges they face, and solving problems for real communities. That's the essence of public service.
To have young kids at home, just know that kids are healthier, they're happier, they do better when they're out there, they're being active, they're playing in sports, they're hanging out with their friends. I think all of us have thought at one point in the last few years that kids spend a little too much time on their phones, maybe a little bit too much time in front of the TV, and we just want kids to do better.
Something Vance, with his venture capital success and policies favoring the wealthy, doesn't seem to grasp. By never directly naming Vance, Obama created an unanswerable trap. If Vance responds, he admits Obama's critique is spot on. If he doesn't, it stands unchallenged, making him look weak. It's a rhetorical masterstroke, showcasing that educational credentials are meaningless without integrity, understanding, and a commitment to public service. The crowd, loving every moment, saw Obama effortlessly demolish the myth of Vance.
Black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, young, old, gay, straight, men, women, folks with disabilities, all pledging allegiance under the same proud flag to this big, bold country that we love. That's what I see. That's the America I know.
As the smart guy in conservative politics. And as Obama wrapped up, it was clear. Credentials aren't the measure of real leadership. What matters is how you use your education to serve people, not elevate yourself. Vance, nowhere to be found after the speech, was left scrambling to respond to a critique that was both personal and intellectual. Obama didn't just out-argue him, he outclassed him. The applause and viral reactions spoke for themselves. Barack Obama didn't just leave JD Vance rattled. He exposed the entire political edifice Vance had built for himself, all based on the hollow prestige of his Yale law degree. It all started innocently enough. Obama's speech at a community college in Michigan seemed like just another opportunity to talk about educational access, how we can empower young people through learning. But then, someone asked Obama about recent Republican commentary on Democratic leaders' lack of real-world experience and their supposed indifference to academic rigor. Obama's face lit up with that smile, an expression that signaled an incoming intellectual takedown of epic proportion. He began by speaking about education and credentials, and the crowd immediately knew he was laying a trap for someone. Some people like to wave their diplomas around like participation trophies, Obama said. Yale Law School is prestigious, absolutely. But you know what's more impressive than going to Yale? Actually understanding what they taught you there. The room erupted. Obama wasn't just calling out an unnamed figure. He was referring directly to JD Vance, the self-styled intellectual conservative who couldn't seem to talk about anything without mentioning his Ivy League credentials. Obama wasn't just playing to the crowd, he was playing Vance's ego, unraveling it in front of everyone. Obama, always the calm, collected rhetorician, began to dismantle Vance's version of education. He reminded the audience that legal education isn't just about the prestige of the institution, but about the principles it imparts, like understanding constitutional law, reading precedent, and respecting the separation of powers. Obama, who had taught constitutional law at the University of Chicago for over a decade, took the opportunity to show just how deeply Vance had misunderstood these foundational principles. Without directly naming him, Obama pointed to the glaring contradictions in Vance's rhetoric. His endorsement of unchecked executive power, his dismissal of court rulings that didn't align with his political goals. Vance, for all his talk of constitutional law, had proposed ideas that were fundamentally anti-democratic, and Obama knew it. He casually mentioned how someone could graduate from Yale but still misunderstand basic constitutional concepts. The crowd could practically hear the unspoken name, JD Vance. But Obama wasn't done yet. He turned the focus back on his own journey, his own education, which took him from Columbia University to Harvard Law School, where he became the first Black president of the Harvard Law Review. He even brought up the incredible experience of working as a community organizer in Chicago, arguing that while degrees are valuable, real wisdom comes from solving problems for actual people. That moment was the quiet knockout punch. He wasn't just dismantling Vance's educational credibility. Obama was offering a compelling contrast between their life paths. Obama had used his education to fight for the public good, to learn from the struggles of working-class Americans, and to build a career rooted in values of service. Vance, on the other hand, had used his Yale degree to leap into venture capital, amass wealth, and create a political brand built on populist rhetoric, all while abandoning the people he claimed to represent. Obama hit on a key point that would resonate throughout the rest of his speech. Credentials can be a shield. Some use them to avoid accountability, to shut down debates, to avoid grappling with ideas. Vance had done exactly that, constantly referencing his Yale law background to avoid confronting the deeper issues in his policy positions. But Obama's rhetorical brilliance wasn't just in attacking Vance. He made the discussion bigger than just one person. He opened the door to a broader critique of the conservative approach to credentials. Vance, along with other Republicans, had used their elite degrees to claim authority while simultaneously railing against the coastal elites and the educational institutions they came from. They wanted the prestige of an Ivy League education, but rejected the very principles that those institutions stand for. And then Obama dropped this line that would reverberate across the political landscape. Intelligence isn't about where you went to school. It's about whether you can actually solve problems for real people. He didn't need to say Vance's name to make the point clear. The audience, in their applause, understood that Obama was contrasting their two approaches to life and education in the most unambiguous way. As Obama wrapped up the segment, he emphasized that true education isn't about collecting degrees as trophies. It's about what you do with the knowledge you gain. He spoke with respect about his own experiences, but he gently but firmly punished the idea that credentials are an end in themselves. The implication was clear. JD Vance had spent his post-Yale career demonstrating the very worst of credentialism, using his degree as a shield, while advocating for policies that contradicted the very principles he should have learned at Yale Law.